Listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm not in on Joe Burrow. I honestly think he's the 1B to Mahomes. And if you gave, I guess my question for you, Dadio, is how do you feel about Zac Taylor? Do you think Zac Taylor's a good head coach, or would you prefer that he gets let go and you get a better offensive mind? Because if you had Andy Reid or Kyle Shanahan with Joe Burrow, I mean, what are we talking about here? How much better could Joe Burrow get? But do you really think Zac Taylor's the guy you want long-term with Burrow?
That's a great question. I would say this: the coach that I want with Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. That's my take. Is I want a coach that lets him be Joe Burrow. And actually, Brian Callahan said it. He said Joe Burrow's become like the coach. He said, I don't know if you read this. Did you see that, Bobby? He said Joe Burrow is so smart and knows the offense so well. He is the coach, and they don't know what their role is anymore because they're not players, Bobby. Brian Callahan doesn't get on the field. He's like, if he's the coach, he was having existential crisis. It was very odd that he was sharing this with us. He was reaching out for help. I mean, you would think with his salary he could afford a therapist, but he was like, why is this Joe Burrow taking my job? Bobby, look it up, please. Look it up. He said Joe Burrow is more like a coach now. And so that is my thing is Joe Burrow just needs someone to not hold him back. He needs someone to, you're right. The Shanahans, the Reids, with their creativity, I think that's an advantage because they're not focused on the field. They can pull from this massive encyclopedia of a playbook and always keep the off. I agree with that. But at the same time, I think back to Peyton Manning again and how Peyton Manning, him being like the offensive coordinator in a way, that kind of resulted in those snap decisions that let him kind of take advantage of things that he was saying seeing that the coach maybe did not.
So the other thing when you want to isolate that though is it's not just about calling the right play and executing the play. It's also how they scheme up route concepts. So like Shanahan will be able to get, and honestly, sometimes Burrow, when you look at him, it's great that you could hit the guy in a perfect spot. T. Higgins making contested catches, Jamar Chase making explosive plays, but sometimes you want the easy throws, and that's what Shanahan really does, and also Andy Reid, is that they scheme up plays to get the ball in their playmakers' hands, get some yards after the catch, like Deebo Samuel comes to mind, Tyreek Hill for a long time as well. A lot of motion and stuff like that. Get, creative in the route concept. So Joe Burrow doesn't have to be incredible every single play to get the most out of him and allow, of course we know Joe Burrow can do that, but it's hard for him to do that every single play. So it'd be nice to have, but listen, you could tell me right now, Zac Taylor's up there with those guys, and I'd be like, okay, you guys have a better pulse on that. But
I would say this. No, I agree. He's not up there with those guys. But you know what Zac Taylor has done? He's a culture builder. He has repaired decades of damage that the Cincinnati Bengals suffered since Sam Wyche left. We have not had a culture. We've not had a unified locker room. We've not had guys want to play for each other, fight for each other, believe in each other. We haven't had it to this level. I mean, Marvin Lewis did a fantastic job. I don't want to discredit what he did. But Marvin Lewis was so much like a gentle father that in really important moments, the players weren't accountable. They didn't hold themselves accountable. With Zac Taylor, he laid down, he was a strict. I mean, they got rid of veterans who didn't agree with their vision very quickly. Veterans that are going to be in the Ring of Honor, veterans that are borderline Hall of Fame players, Carlos Dunlap, Geno Atkins, Giovanni Bernard. Before, those guys would have never, been let go. And I think in that way, he's done something for the Bengals franchise that's allowed Joe Burrow to basically just kind of take over the whole football side of things. Yes, I think here's the other thing. I think Zac Taylor's a smart guy. I think he's going to grow. I think he is growing. I think the guy was a QB coach on the Rams. I mean, really, nobody knows what a QB coach does in general, especially not on the Rams. When you have Sean McVay, I mean, what was this guy doing? I mean, like my co-host Dr. Hodgie says, yeah, you go get them, you massage their feet, maybe you get them some juice or something, but nobody knows what a QB coach actually does.
Well, maybe he's giving all the good massages now to Joe Burrow. So Zac Taylor learned to massage Sean McVay, and all that practice is allowing Joe Burrow to relax before game day because his coach is such a good massager. So
I agree. I don't think that Andy Reid would do that. I don't think you'd want a massage from Andy Reid.
I don't either.